All right, everybody. We're down here at Uncle Earl's. We're live, sitting back here behind the tack trailer, doing a little podcast action out here, listening to the dogs bay. There's going to be a lot of background noise. Hopefully, everything will turn out all right on this one. We got a good friend of mine as a guest today. We've become pretty good friends since we've known each other. And what past couple of years, I guess maybe, Roy, something like that.
Yeah. Since,
So tell them who you are and where you're from and what you do.
well, I'm Roy Ferebee, and I'm from Lower Idaho, and I don't do much of anything but try to have a good time and live life.
Wow.
I have a small pack of bear dogs that I've slowly tried to convert and into hog dogs, and I'm trying to create a pack of well-rounded animals is my goal, and I guess it's we met through terriers at the terrier trials out there at
Yeah.
the Boar's Nest, and that's kind of where our relationship started.
Yeah. And I mean, I realized then, when I met you that, with Ed, we knew some of the same people through your dogs,
Yep.
and I know the sire to one of your dogs. Is it one of them that out of Pete?
Yeah.
Or do
Grand
you have-
Champion Pete.
Okay.
Champion Karen. Yep.
I think so. You got what one from them, or
So I have a male.
you got plots?
Yep, I have
Right.
plots. I have. I'm the owner of RF Kennels and hunting terriers. So I breed. I don't breed. I try to just concentrate on hunting and making dogs, but I have plots, mostly hick bred plots and earth terriers.
You got a good looking hide.
Yeah, that is my first venture into hide terriers, and we got that as an experiment. We wanted to get we're terrier enthusiasts, so
Mhm.
we've seen an opportunity to
Oh yeah,
get a dog that we've never had,
and that one came from Josh Neff.
and that one came from Josh Neff. Yes, that one.
Josh seems like he's doing a lot for the terrier world through the high terrier stuff for sure. His program seems to be legit as it can be, and I mean, from what I know, the guy has done his homework, he's done his legwork, and from what I seen Adolph a while ago, he's producing some nice dogs.
Yes, Josh Neff. I actually met because I wanted to acquire a high terrier, and so I got put on his list. And Josh is definitely a committed individual. At least, at very least,
Mhm.
he's been very kind and very thorough through the process. So I have no complaints on Josh nor my dog from him yet.
He's a good looking dog. That's for sure.
He is a looker for sure, and
He's a fireball too.
so
He's not
far,
just looks.
so far he's a firecracker. Yep.
I like the build. I like the look of him. Like I said, and his attitude is good.
So far, I think we're approaching 10 months with him, and I think so far that's everything that Josh was looking for out of that litter. We have yet to prove him out, as adults yet, and that was Josh's first litter.
It's time. That's all.
It's time, and this is his dabble into it. And
I don't think he's gonna have any problems with that. Like I said, just from what I've seen, like he wants to do something. He wants to work.
I think that's the important part about getting puppies from working parents, and I think that goes for any breed of dog or line of dog. It's when you're wanting hunting dogs, you got to get from hunting stock.
Yes.
And it's I think that's very important. So Josh did his homework, and he traveled to Germany, and he hunted with dogs, and he had the chance to look at dogs, put his hand on dogs, and he brought some quality stuff to the States.
There's not a lot of people that's going to get and fly across the world to go check out the parents and to do to do what you need to do correctly.
Absolutely.
Because to me that's as committed as you can get. Not just, I mean, that's time, that's effort, that's money. It's the whole package to get it, and so you should be producing.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Absolutely. He did his homework, and I think that's the point of doing the homework, and we can all kind of take a little bit of lesson from that, rookie and veterans,
I've done it a long time, but I literally, my hat's off to. I think Josh probably doesn't think that I think like that about the dogs that they have and stuff, because I do my own thing. with the hides, but I like my hats off to him, you know.
Yeah, I'm really happy with him and the dog from him so far, and so I think him being isolated where he's at over in Oregon, I think that's a lot of it. People don't get to be around him and be
Mhm.
around his dogs, or even get to see what he's doing with them, and
Yeah.
he's coming long ways. You know, I'm not going to speak for him,
Mhm.
but he came from a urban setting and had a goal, set a goal, and he's kind of achieving his goal. So
Yeah.
my hat's off to him.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And you got other terriers as well.
Yes, my main string of terriers are Patterdale Terriers and
Mhm.
digging dogs.
Yeah.
When I got out of game dogs years and years ago, I think I had in my mind that I wanted to get a good bred Patterdale.
Yeah.
I think that was a good second choice to game dogs.
Yeah.
And you know, they're kind of similar in mentality and how you keep them, and
Yeah. I've
so I
crossed
think it was
into
a good
some.
transition.
I've crossed them to some game dogs, and well, I was not disappointed. They didn't live real long, but they were
Well,
as hard as nails.
I had talked to a gentleman actually years ago, and he had did the cross, and he had called it a pitter patter
Yep.
cross,
Pitter patch. Yep.
and I'd lost track of him, but he was using some proven game dog stock onto some real hard proven
Mhm.
Patterdale stock, and he was actually hunting them on game in Canada,
Wow.
and I wish I could remember his name. This was the better part of 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So it was
I think the first ones that we done, I'd seen a guy in, I want to say it was like West Virginia, I believe, and he had it was accidental breeding at first, but he kept the pups, and I mean they all, you know, they look like little miniature game, you know, which the old game stock that I always had were, you know, 30 to 40 pound dogs. You know, anything over 40 was big to me, in which we did have some occasionally that would break the high 40s, but those little dudes were 25 to 30 pounds and they were badass. And so I was like, I want to do that.
you know, I think it's you know, in a lot of terrier circles, especially Patterdale
Mm.
circles, it's kind of they kind of look at it as blasphemy. But
Oh
when
yeah.
you're breeding for purpose, you
Yes.
know, there's
Specific.
you know, specific purpose.
Yeah.
It's you kind of gotta look beyond, open your horizons a little bit, and be open minded about some stuff.
What's like the bird bull crosses and stuff, like a lot of a lot of us guys that run hog dogs, it's not that we're doing anything to, to frown on another breed or nothing. We see something we like in this breed and something that we like in this one. And so, we try it. A lot of times it works out great. Like I said, bird bulls, and it could be a multitude of bird dogs, however many different breeds or whatever. There's no certain breed that everybody uses. Everybody's got their own thing. And the bird bulls, they always turn out. They're rough dogs 90% of the time. They're going to be bad rough or catchy.
I don't have a lot of experience until I came to
Give me a beer.
well, when I spent my year that I lived in East Texas, I had no experience with the bird bull crosses. You know, I come from kind of a purist background in Idaho with hounds, and you know, it was new to me when I came here and I got to experience a bird bull cross.
Yeah.
And how influential they are to hog hunting in the South.
Yes.
I think being from Idaho and moving to the South and spending a little bit of time living in the South and seeing the dog culture here,
Mm-hmm.
there's a big learning curve, you know.
That's what I was going to ask you. How you hear that? That's one of them Southern dogs there raising cane. How did that? What is the main difference that you see from being down here in the South and the way that the dogs are here, and then the way the dogs are up north? Is it more purist up there than it is here, or?
Well, I think above all, I think the people are different, and I think that has a lot of effect on the dogs.
Yeah.
Of course, the culture here is different, but the dog culture is different here. I think there's a whole lot more camaraderie, and people come together in larger groups in
Here?
southern states for dog events and hunting events. And so I think it kind of broadens everybody's circle a little bit. And I think that falls down into the dogs.
Yeah.
Because not every man likes the same style of dog. And when you bring different kinds of dog men together, and you hunt together, and you get to witness everything together. I think that's, that's proofs in the pudding. When you see it happen in front of you, it's different than hearing about it.
Yeah.
And in Idaho, we're kind of isolated. It's there's a few of us. Idaho does have a lot of hound hunters, but we are kind of purists in the way that we do a thing a certain way, and we pick a pack of dogs and we pick a breed and we stick to that.
Yeah.
And it's almost a cult like following, much like the following with plot hounds and people who own them, like me.
What all do you hunt with? Like you're talking. Ours is generally what you're talking about. Our circles here are generally going to be coon hunters, squirrel hunters, and hog doggers. I mean, you have like rabbit hunters and stuff like that, but y'all have a lot more big game.
Big game hunters. Yep, I'm talking about big game hunters, mountain lion, bears. We do have bobcat hunters. You guys consider bobcat a varmint dog. So yeah, I come from a big game hunting background. I spent most of my dog career in working dogs, not so much hounds. I've spent probably the past decade, maybe 12 years with hounds. I spent 25 years with working dogs in total. I got into hounds to up my fur percentage as a trapper. As a young man, I was into trapping a lot, and I was into bobcat trapping. And as young men, we have brilliant ideas, and my brilliant ideas was I'd run a trap line, and where I wasn't running a trap line, I'd run a bobcat dog, and I would double my fur intake. And as I got older and I tried to do both, it was just not feasible. You have to run with one or the other. It's completely not cost effective to do both, and it's I had to pick one or the other. So I picked the dogs, and being I was already into working dogs, and I gave up the trapping part, and we went into running bobcats with dogs. And my first year, I was strictly into only running bobcats, and I went to my local Hound Dog Association banquet dinner, and I got involved and met a local bear hunter, and it kind of exploded from there. And I started bear hunting. I've been bear hunting the past 10 years with hounds, and from there I've kind of made a goal for my dogs that I wanted a well-rounded dog. I didn't want just a bear dog. I wanted well-rounded, versatile dogs, dogs I could travel the states with and hunt other types of game with. And so when we moved to the East Texas area, I brought those dogs with me, and I transitioned my pack of plots from bears and mountain lions to hogs, which wasn't a hard change. I mean, the plot hound was developed.
You done pretty good. I mean, right off the bat, you were catching hogs.
Yeah, I think time and place, timing's everything. I was really blessed with the fact that I got onto a good hunting lease, and I met a good individual, and I had a good hunting partner, and he schooled me in the Texas hog hunting ways, and I think that really boosted my success. So without those things, I think we probably would have struggled a little bit more, because as a northern bear hunter, not knowing anything about hogs, we look at YouTube videos and we watch the videos and we hear everything about the hog numbers. We kind of get this perception that hog hunting is an easy thing.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie to you. I came into it with a preconceived notion that we were going to catch every time we turned out. And I wish it was that easy.
Yeah.
We ate our fair share of humble pie. So it was the learning curve came in the fact that it was we had to learn how to hunt in humidity, hot weather, around flooded territory, different kinds of predators, alligators, snakes. So it was
running in water is different.
It affected my dog's feet. I won't lie. When we first moved from Idaho to East Texas, my dogs weren't used to running in so much water, and it caused my dogs to have feet problems.
And the tracks don't hold as long, like the scent, as they would like in the snow. How do you compare that? We've got a friend that Mike Zapp from Michigan. He comes and does this same thing. like you're doing, well-rounded dogs. And he, like when we went up there, optimal conditions would be like, a good snow. We go right around, we find some tracks, turn out on. We were, coyote hunting or bear hunting or something like that. And that's what he said, man, he said the track is better like that. When it's in the snow. I didn't know how it would.
Snow hunting, snow hunting is pretty deceitful in the fact that it's a lot of times tracks can look fresher than they are, and
Yeah.
and
Like sand, like
and,
sandy soil stuff.
yeah, sometimes sand evaporates differently,
Yes.
and sand will freeze in snow.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes a track will smell fresher than it is because it's kind of thawing out in the sun and hasn't had a chance to evaporate off yet. So snow hunting can be tricky. I think as a whole, it's probably kind of easier because you can see your tracks.
Yeah.
Whereas like down here, you're not seeing a lot of your tracks. Their dogs are, you have to put faith in your animals.
Yeah.
It's road crossing, stuff like that. You will, you can get a direction just like anywhere else, but it's, there's learning curves. It's different than snow hunting. It's different than dry ground lion hunting. It's, I'm not an expert at any of it, but, I try to do a little bit all of it.
The dry ground lion hunting, to me, that seems like that's the pinnacle. It's like that would seem to me like that'd be the hardest tracks. I don't know. I've never done it. I'm just saying, just from what I've heard, what I've seen, like you said, it's a preconceived notion because all I have done is I've read about it and I've watched YouTube videos and stuff like that. So it's like, I'm thinking like these dogs are super power dogs and they have extreme noses. And like I said, I don't know. I've never been around.
It just depends on where you're at in the region you're in and what kind of animals you're hunting. I think there's always going to be those powerhouse dogs, and those dogs that kind of set that standard for the area, And when you go to those areas and you see those dogs perform in those areas, it's kind of wow inspiring. It's I think even the best dogs will have lulls, and they'll have their ruts when you travel around and you hunt different places.
What kind of, like, as far as like time wise on the tracks, well, of course, nobody really knows unless you see something come across on a camera, like a 12-hour track or, 16-hour-old tracks. Like our dogs that we generally run are going to be 4 to 6 hours. And that's about all we're going to get out of ours.
Well, I've seen guys run a lot of old tracks off of baits, where we have cameras on because we're allowed to run off of baits with cameras in Idaho. And I do know gentlemen that run older, colder tracks. I'm a lot like you. I'm shooting for, a 5-hour track, a 6-hour track.
And that's old. That's old for us. You know what I'm saying? That's general.
That's a pretty average track, I think. And like I said, I'm no expert. It's just based from my experiences and the dogs that I run, they do better with that kind of mid-range track. A super hot track, they're going to take the back track sometimes, and I'm going to have to correct them or let them correct themselves. And a too cold of a track, they're going to fool around with, and I'm going to want to move on and try to find something hotter. Yeah. So I'm looking for a nice 5-hour, 4-hour-old track that they're going to go ahead and take, and they're going to pick a direction and head out with it. But I have seen dogs personally take 10-hour tracks off of a bait. It's and there there's the story and the rumors of guys that I've taken 24-hour-old tracks.
That's what I'm talking about, stuff like that. And I'm thinking, I'm not saying that it can't be done by no means. I was just like, that's a hell of a.
Personally, deal. I haven't experienced that kind of nose power in a dog, but it's I don't do it on a consistent enough basis to probably see that. You got these gentlemen that are hunting New Mexico and Arizona, and they're pushing 24-day-old tracks.
Shit, to me that's just crazy because first off, how far did that animal go? How far are you going to have to trail him to get to it, And so we have a lot of smaller properties where we're at. It would never work with us. We'd be off our properties. and that's why we run I guess you'd say a hotter nosed dog. A lot of
Yep.
cur dogs.
Yep.
And it just that's what seems to work more. There's a lot of guys that run hounds, and most of those guys have big properties, and they're probably pulling 4 6 hour tracks, like you said. 4 to 6 hours old. That's going to be about the average, and they can find one big track in the road, turn out on it, get the race going, and catch the hog. Where we might come right do the same thing, and our dogs won't even pick that track up. They're like, shit, I don't know.
We when I moved to East Texas, we were hunting core engineer land, and we were actually able to pick up a lot of the slack that the cur dog guys were missing.
Yeah.
They drove by a lot of stuff, and at first I thought it was out of ignorance, or out of them not knowing any better, but it's the style of dog they run.
Yes.
We had color nosed dogs. We had dogs that were used to
Mhm.
pulling thermal scent. They're used to rigging off the box and smelling older tracks off the box. And so we were actually able to find some success in that with our hounds coming down here to East Texas. And we were able to come into these higher pressure hunted areas like the core engineer land and pick up the slack and pick up these hogs and these big boar hogs that were getting drove past, the ones that would just hunker down and let you drive right on past them. And we were able to pick those ones up with the color nosed dogs, but again, we would have to be select on what we turned out on because they would fool with a color track. And we'd be spending valuable time messing with the cold track when we could have been catching hogs.
I think that's got a lot to do with the style of dog that we run ourselves, is because, like, I've had some dogs that were colder nosed years ago, and I had a lot of bigger properties. And like you said, the time that you're there, if I run that hotter dog and I'm putting miles on the road or in the woods or however on a buggy, 4-wheeler, whatever, we're going to put up numbers. We're going to try to put up numbers because, like, when we turn loose, generally that hog's going to be more close to the immediate area. You know what I'm saying? He might not be right there, but he's within a mile.
He's close.
Half a mile.
Yep.
He's close. So we can bust his ass and move on. Whereas if you got one that's 6 hours old and he's done went all over here, he might, like you said, he might turn right around and come over and hunker down. But the track's too old. So we're not even going to mess with it. We just move on. Like you said, we pass it up. That's what I was talking about a while ago. Like, you see a track in the road and you're like, Jesus Christ, that's a huge track. You can go right there and put your dogs on it, catch that hog. Where, like I said, my dogs are going to be like, shit, they might run that shoat that went across there an hour ago, So, but I think that's got a lot to do with it. Like what you were talking about with the time that it takes to do it is why we don't do it.
Yeah. And I think one of the other obstacles I ran into, moving to the south and living here and hunting here was the big debate between, silent and open dogs.
Yeah.
Where I run hounds and I'm a bear hunter, we prefer an open dog. We want open trail dogs. We want to know what our dogs are doing in big country. And it was kind of hard to find people to hunt with because they want to catch hogs, and it was a hard pill for me to swallow, for me to admit that my open style dogs were kind of alerting the hogs to us coming, and at first, I wanted to not deny that fact, but the simple fact of the matter is, if you have dogs that run to catch, it don't matter if they're open or closed.
Yeah.
If their goal is to catch, they're going to catch eventually. Yeah. But it was hard, on these smaller properties, the smaller leases here. I think that was kind of a battle. One of the obstacles we had to fight was these open dogs on smaller tracts of land.
Yeah.
When we would set down these open track dogs, they'd push the hogs into the next bordering property where we weren't able to hunt. So a lot of our races were unsuccessful because we had to pull off due to that.
Pull off. And see, you're one of the first houndsmen that's been 100% openly honest about that I've talked to, because generally, it don't matter. Well, it does. And like I said,
it absolutely does.
It does, because if you got a heavy pressured area and that dog is open, he can push the hog. You know what I'm saying? But like you also said, the end result, is what matters.
That's
If
you
that
know,
dog's got if he's got the stamina and the power and the speed and can push the track, shit, that hound will blow the lungs out of that hog. It might take him 4 hours, but the end result is he's on the tailgate.
running to catch.
That's the end
the
result.
goal. Yeah.
And I've told people, I'm like, listen, if I had big properties, I guarantee you, I know what I'd be running.
I didn't. This wasn't anything I even took into consideration until I had to.
Yeah.
Until I had to move, and I don't think people get stuck hunting at home and being comfortable in their home zone and never kind of getting outside of that comfort zone.
So they're stuck in that one mentality.
So they're stuck in that mindset, and that's kind of generational thing, and we teach the next generation that. And I got to see it differently because I traveled to hunt and I moved. And when I moved, I had to learn a different way to hunt.
Yeah.
And where I'm from, you don't lease land. We have millions of acres of public land to hunt. So transitioning to hunting leases, I had to learn, I had to change.
Yeah.
I had to adapt, or my dogs had to change and they had to adapt.
Mm-hmm.
And that was part of, starting to build a well-rounded dog. I wanted dogs that I could travel this country and hunt anything, no matter what. I wanted to hunt bears. I wanted to hunt hogs. And it didn't matter if I was in Maine, Idaho, Texas, Arkansas,
The end
Louisiana.
result's the same.
The end result's the same. I want to be catching. So I was on that goal, to make a well-rounded dog. And on that journey, I found that it was going to take some work. My plots were pushing hogs off of property. They were pushing them because they were loud. These are big country dogs, and you kind of don't realize there's a difference until you have to realize there's a difference. Yep. So absolutely. My open dogs were kind of, they as much as they were our success, they were the root of us not being successful sometimes. So we had to, adapt, change, hunt with different dogs, hunt different styles, hunt, it was different.
Yeah.
So absolutely,
cool.
it's, I think that's something as a houndsman or as a dogman, period, you have to be willing to change and adapt if you want to be successful.
Without a doubt. I ran the hardest, roughest dogs I could for years. I started out with bay dogs, and we had some that would get, they get a little catchy. But then it transitioned to where we had to transition. We had to change because there were a lot more hunters. When I first started, there were few. And we would have to drive 2 to 3 hours to do what we wanted to do. And we didn't have any issues. We had the biggest properties. We had all the property. There was no competition. And then it started getting to be more people. And like you were saying, the hounds pushing them off the property. Well, that's what was happening. A lot of guys, they weren't finishing the race. So they educated the hogs. So if you had a dog that opened it all, first thing he did was just run.
And that was one of the things I had to learn fast, that the hogs are smart.
Yeah.
And, they're something like the 4th smartest mammal in the world. And that's very little known knowledge about swine.
Yep.
Is they're extremely, extremely smart.
People think
and they learn
stupid.
And they adapt. And if you're not on your game, you will absolutely educate them and they'll make a fool out of you.
Yep. It's like with trapping, trapping hogs. If that hog has ever been around a trap and seen other hogs trap or been involved in it of any kind and knows what human scent or dog scent is, he's not going in there. You're not going to catch him. You know what I mean? It's one of those deals. It's like you educated him.
Yep.
And it's a byproduct. And so that running factor that we were talking about, like when the hogs first, because used to, man, if we struck a hog, usually, within a couple 100 yards, he was bayed and caught, no problem. They didn't even run. They would just take a bay. And then it got to where it was just, the dogs had to evolve. The hogs evolved, so we had to change.
And as dog hunters, we kind of got to change,
Mm-hmm.
and as dogmen, we got to change. And, and as we sit here at Uncle Earl's 2024, you kind of see that change down here in the South. You see a convergence of kind of bay pen show type people and hunters, and they come together at these type of events, and it's a beautiful thing to see. And there are people here that have a mindset and a goal to create a dog that can be a bay pen dog and a woods dog and do everything and be those well-rounded dogs. And I think it's the more people keep that in mind, I think the better off dogs in general are going to be, and us as dog hunters are going to be in general.
Too many people are trying to do it for themselves and not the dog, is what I feel. You know, it's like they got all these ideas of what the dog needs to do, and that's not the case all the time. The dog will tell you what is, you know, the game you're after will tell you what your dog needs to do, and then that dog, it's your job to know the dogs, to get the dog, you know, for the end result.
I think it's our job to get out of our dogs' way as well. I think a lot of times our egos get in the way of our dogs.
100%.
And that kind of hinders our dog's abilities, and we don't see that because it's you know, we're so wrapped up in the end result, you know. And when I first started, you know, I spoke on, you know, I wanted to double my fur intake, and that was the wrong mentality to get into dogs. And I got into hounds, and I won't lie, I got into hounds with the wrong mindset. You know, I didn't get into them because I had a passion. You know, I did have a passion for working dogs, but I got them for the wrong reasons. And I think as I grew with the dogs and I matured, the reasons why I had them changed. And I realized that I had to check my ego a lot of the time, you know, and I was getting upset that I wasn't catching everywhere I went. And when I started doing this bay pen event, I was getting upset that my woods dogs wouldn't enter these bay pens and do what I knew they would do in a bay pen. And it was frustrating at first. And I had to really step aside and realize that my ego was getting in my dog's way. And I had to check myself and realize that it wasn't my dogs. It was, you know, the way I handled my dogs and the way my dogs were previously trained and stuff like that. So I think ego has a big playing factor in the dog world. And I think even more so than people realize.
Yeah. And there's several dog men that I know, and I call them dog men, you know, because they're wise, way more wise than I am about it. And that's probably one of the biggest things that every one of them have said in common. Ego is the demise. Like, the hardest thing for a dog to do is tote your ego.
They just can't do it. And I think it's been the demise of a lot of dogs, you know. And I think, honestly,
wonder how many dogs were culled because
of man's ego.
Could have been the greatest dogs ever.
Well, you know,
I know I probably got quite a few.
I don't even want to talk about it.
I know I've got quite a few.
But I think as a whole, I think ego can honestly destroy dog hunting as a whole.
Yes.
I think if we don't check our egos and learn to come together through dog events, through associations, and just through our love for dogs, period, and check the egos, I think we're going to lose the battle.
Oh yeah.
And
it is a battle.
You know, it's been a battle. You know, there's been several groups that have been trying to, you know, kind of guard the gates, so to speak. And I think it is a battle, you know, and events like, you know, Earl's, it brings people together, you know, and it builds camaraderie, and that's how we built our friendship, you know, is through these events. And
exactly.
And it's a friendship that I hold dear, and I'll hold dear for a long time, you know. And I think it's very important that, you know, people in my part of the world would travel and experience this kind of stuff and make the trip, you know. And it is a trip. It is a hard journey, you know, but it's worth it. You meet fantastic
How long did it take
people.
You to get down here?
Hey, I think it was just under 1,900 miles, and it took us, I bet, a day and a half.
Yeah. And saying you got a lot of people that'll run their mouth and talk shit about it, and they live an hour and a half away. Well, man, that's too far.
Wait,
it's too. No,
you can either talk about it or you can be about it.
Exactly.
You know? And it's I got tired of just talking the talk, and I wanted to walk the walk as well, you know. And
it takes a lot to do that.
It really does.
Time and money.
You know, I as an Idaho boy, I watched hog hunting on YouTube, you know, and I watched Uncle Earl's on YouTube, and
now you're turning your dogs loose
and
out
now
there.
I'm turning my dogs loose, and you know,
well, you won some stuff last year.
Yeah, we took 4th in the sportsman's class, and we actually did pretty good this year too. My little Sunday dog, she scored a 9.4 in a really hard class. She's up there with the big dogs.
She's doing good. That dog every time has put on a show.
She sees,
she can get. I put it this way, from what I've seen, you call her Bloody Sunday, for a reason. Sometimes she gets a little rough.
She's earned her name, that's for sure.
Yeah, I know. Last year she put on a good show. Yeah, there was a lot of people clapping and cheering every time.
She's a crowd favorite every time she's out, and I think it's hard for her not to be when she comes in at a solid 15 pounds.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, she looks like a little mouse out there. And we terrier background ourselves, and that's kind of how people got to know us in the Bay Pen stuff. Is we were bringing the Jags and the Rat Terriers and Patterdales and stuff, and I mean, we knew we weren't going to beat Goose and Iceman and Clyde and all those big dogs, but we competed. We were walking the walk.
I think that's the important part is competing and just being there and being a part of it and supporting those who support you. I mean, at the end of the day, that's the important part is we all do this because we love to work dogs, and that's our end result.
Exactly.
And through maturity, I've kind of found love in the process, and not so much the start of something or the end of something, but the process and the building of something. And I think what hogbang.com and everybody in the South and everybody does with these hog bays, I think it goes a long way to kind of preserve the dog sports of America.
I do too. There's some that don't see it like that. They think that it's, they want to keep it just simple, and that's fine. I get it, but it'll never grow if you don't exploit it some.
We have to grow with it.
Exactly.
I mean,
we have everything has changed so much since the first Uncle Earls, and so that when it's put on social media, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, whoever, and then some of these other guys, they see a video on there, they're like, "Man, y'all shouldn't put that on there." Oh, what are we doing wrong? What's wrong with it? As long as you don't show anything that's inappropriate, you shed it in a positive light.
Well, I think that's an important part. Is PR is very much an important part of what we do, and we need to always be self-aware of what we're putting out. And yes, we're working animals, and but we do it in a safe manner, and we do it the best we can, and it's a controlled environment. It's very much a controlled environment. And
no, you're good. There's somebody coming up buying stuff, y'all. That's what we're doing. We're sitting, like I said, we're sitting behind the tack trailer out here, and we got some customers and stuff coming up, and we're sitting here doing our thing and trying to make all of it work. So if we stop and start back and forth or whatever, that's all that is. Which anybody who's listened to our podcast and stuff, they know it's probably the most unorganized, unorthodox thing there is that we do.
I bet that's real life. I think that's probably why it's popular. It's
more popular than I thought it would be. Like, I mean, we don't have like the millions of views and listeners and all that stuff, but every event we go to, like, we get the best feedback, and it's people we've never met. They want to meet us, and they want to talk for a minute, and they're like, "Man, y'all just need to put out more. Just put out more." And we try to we work all the time.
Yeah.
So it's real life, and I know that affects a lot of people with the dogs. You got real life going. A lot of folks can't take off and come down here for the whole week, but this is my vacation.
Yeah. No, this is my vacation as well.
I don't go to the beach.
We plan for this all year long.
I don't go to the beach. I don't do none of that stuff. This is what I do.
It's I think it's a shame that there isn't more places like Louisiana and Texas and Oklahoma and places where you could have these live bay events, and I think they would be more popular.
Oh yeah.
But I think it just goes to show you that we are a dying breed.
It's the misunderstanding of it too.
And that's why we need to come together, and people do need to make these events, and they do need to make those trips and meet the people and build the relationships and build the bridges, and we can all kind of fight the fight together. And and they can realize how much fun this stuff really is.
It's a good time. Because it's like you said, these events here in the Southeast, it's kind of like a Saturday get together with the family.
It's
on a bigger scale.
Man, I would very much relate it to a family reunion.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
everybody
like every year
here is happy.
Well, this is the only time we get to see each other, man. You know, it's like our vacation now is, well, I want to go see my buddies, and that's like with the terrier trials. The whole reason I went was not for my terriers. I love the dogs. I wanted to go see your dogs. I specifically, what I said, you better come down. I'm going to be there. I want to see your dogs, and then I want to meet you. And then after that, every year we're going to hang out. We're going to have a fire. You know, Nate's out here cooking. You know, we got all our stuff going on, and there's
Nate can make some sausage gravy now.
Yeah, he's getting with it,
boy.
And how many camps are around here? I mean, I don't know. And it's the middle of the week. This ain't even the good days, the busy days yet.
Yeah, the chaos is yet to come.
Yeah. I think Friday and Saturday it'll be a hell of a show for sure. Which, you know, last year the weather was a little different. It was a little hotter. The temperature was a little more, but this weather has been phenomenal.
Yeah, we have great weather this year.
Yes.
Yeah, great weather.
I think we got a little bit of rain coming tomorrow, but I mean, that
comes
nothing.
with the territory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, last year they actually bathed with a tornado that went less than a mile from here. That was on Sunday.
Yep.
And we were trying to load it. It was bad. And Eric Mealy and Wolfman, they won the 2-dog cup or the 2-dog heavyweight thing or whatever it was, and they won that. And it was coming a hell of a storm. That's the dedication, you know.
Well, that's what man. Those dogs are kind of really what drew me to the Bay Pen. You know, Wolfman and Hand Grenade and Goose. You know, like watching Goose on YouTube as a boy from Idaho.
Yeah.
Man, that dog was a superstar, and he is still.
Oh yeah.
Being able to watch him in person is
He
kind of a
works.
small fulfilled goal, you know, as a guy that's not from the area, and you watch all these videos and these clips of him, and you know, you're like, man, to see that dog work one day, and he works phenomenal in a pen.
And once you understand how the base system is,
once you understand the ruling, and, you
Yes.
know, the rules and the specifics,
it'll change your whole outlook.
it changes your outlook and as an outsider looking in, you know, it's completely different. I thought it was going to be easy. It's not easy. It's hard. It's very competitive. These dogs here are high powered bay dogs.
High strung, man.
And you know, it's a
lot of these
for a
dogs,
hunter for a bear hunter from Idaho.
Yeah.
It's kind of humbling, you know. It's hard. It's not easy. You know, this bay pen stuff is not easy. You know, you think it's just barking at a farm animal in a pen.
Yeah,
and I guess the basics of it, yeah, it's that, but it's once you involve the rules and the specifics, and it's very competitive, very complicated, but it's fun. It's enjoyable, and you got people all ages out here doing it, you know, and I think it's very cool. As an outsider coming to this, I enjoy it very much, and I hope to come to a bunch more.
Oh yeah, I and like you said, it's one of those deals where it's been an ongoing fight for years, and it'll be an ongoing fight for years to come, I'm sure. But the more that we're together as a whole, the better chance we have to keep this
absolutely
going.
Absolutely.
And I mean,
we got to build those bridges and extend those arms out, and and you know, we just got to expand our circle. That's all it is. And
I agree.
It's as an outsider coming into this, you know, I was welcomed with open arms. You know, people have been more than gracious to me, and I'm so happy that I was able to come into this, you know, with such wonderful people and such graciousness. You know, people have welcomed me here wonderfully, and
that's a big thing here in the South, man. Everybody, we were talking about that yesterday. I think it was like, you know, you don't go many places where it's like you meet somebody one time and they're like, all right, stay at the house, man. Come over and you can sleep on the couch, you know, or whatever.
I had 10 dogs stringed out next to a gentleman's house for this event, and I seen him out in his yard, and I thought he was going to be upset at me, and he brought me stuff over from my barbecue, and he was nice as could be. It was complete opposite of what I thought I was gonna get.
Yeah.
And so the people here in the town of Winfield are very gracious, and they've been very hospitable to us.
And these bays, these events for a smaller town, it creates so much revenue. Look at all the little stores, dollar stores, the grocery stores, the gas stations.
Oh, the hotel owner
Yeah,
that
yes.
I got a hotel at, she was happy to see us pull in.
Yeah.
She was
Because
ecstatic.
I mean, like they might rent out 1 or 2 rooms a week generally, and now they're booked solid for at least a full week.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's I think other parts of the country could definitely learn from these bay events down here, and vice versa. I've talked to several gentlemen down here that don't even know what a field dog trial is for us out west. We have big events in California, and there's a big event in Oregon, and there's another one in Idaho, and we do have field trials. I don't want to make it sound like that.
Yeah.
The North or the West doesn't have their own type of deals, because they do have their own field trials and field events. But for anyone that wants to experience something with a live animal and just something new in general, these bay events down here just are incredible fun. Great change of pace. Great
I like
people.
to hear that. I mean, I do, because everybody that, and I've made a lot of friends that from northern states that have come down, and every one of them said the same thing. They're like, they try to come every time as much as they come, even if it's not even coming to an event, just coming down to hunt.
Joey, I came here to run one dog.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And
it's I traveled all this way to for the camaraderie, for the people, for the food, for the the culture, the dog culture, the people.
Oh, it's a culture, that's for sure. The food is great.
It's hard to explain, to other people about how deeply enrooted the dog culture is in the South. I mean, I think this is kind of the mecca of the working dog. This area of the country is, just
you see dog boxes in every truck.
It's
all the time. I mean, that's all the time.
Yeah.
That's like we've been to certain places, and you go there and you're riding around, you see trucks and stuff everywhere. You might see a dog box every now and again. And then like where we're at, it's like, well, that guy don't even have a dog box in his truck. What's wrong with him?
Someone's cooking some Cajun food somewhere. And it smells good.
Oh, that's the rays over there. Yeah, that's what that is. That's smelling good. We might have to jump that fence over there in a minute, get a hold of that. That smells good. And that's the thing. Like, you got the Cajun camp up top. They cook all kinds of stuff.
This is and that was another one of those things that's just different, for a guy like me. It's you got camps all around here that are cooking different food. Nate, your son, has cooked for me all weekend pretty much, and he's fed me, and it's everybody's like that here.
Yeah.
You're not going to go hungry or thirsty here. If you do, that is your own fault.
You could come here with absolutely nothing and be just fine.
Yep. Yeah,
fine.
It's a fantastic time, and I think, everybody needs to come to Earl's at least once.
Oh yeah, I agree with that. Well, going back to your story on the hunting and stuff, how did you get, or I know you said like with the bobcat dogs and stuff, what got you, or who got you started with the dogs? Is it was it family friend or relatives, or because most of us, we were raised doing it. We were raised either.
It was definitely not something I was raised into.
Yeah.
I was introduced into hounds by a family friend of mine, actually. My father, my dad, and he's done passed away now. His good friend acquired big game hounds and mountain lion dogs out of Oregon when I was young, probably 10 or 12 years old, and he went hunting with him a lot, and I got to go a couple times and see the dogs and meet the dogs. And it was many years later that I acquired my first hound, but that was definitely the moment that I acquired, an interest in hounds. But the man that got me into was was a high school buddy of mine. He had already had a couple dogs that he had trained, and I went with him a couple times, and And so yeah, it was definitely a friend that facilitated, my habit now.
Yeah. That's pretty cool though.
But yeah, it wasn't nothing that I grew up into. My dad did work trial bird dogs when he was young, but it wasn't anything I was raised into or anything I continue to do.
Yeah.
It was something I stumbled across. But before hounds, I had game bred pit bulls,
Yeah.
and I spent a lot of years with them. And we did some small weight pulling stuff, confirmation events,
Yeah.
protection bite dog work. That went into, kind of confirmation showing, and we even dabbled in American bullies for a while. And but my heart was always into working dogs, and so when I got out of game dogs and got out of, working bulldogs and stuff like that, that's when I acquired my digging terriers. And at that point, I'd already owned a couple of hounds.
Yeah.
As most working dog people or, dog men, I think we have a tendency to take it overboard. So once you get one, you got to have 5, and then you got to have 10, and then you got to have 15. So what turned into, just owning a couple dogs turned into, owning a full-fledged pack of hounds, and then owning earth terriers, and then owning other kind of terriers.
It just keeps growing. Yep.
It's a disease.
How many you got? How many head of dogs you got now? You reckon?
Well, with us right now, we hauled 4 plots and 2 catch dogs down here with us right now. As a total, I think I feed 14 head.
14. It's a pretty good yard. That there's a lot of guys here that will have, like you were talking about, having the well-rounded dogs to do so many things. Well, a lot of them, like we'll have hounds we'll have a coon hound, and then you'll have deer dogs. Then you'll have some over here that you got rabbit dogs. Then you got a squirrel dog or 2. And then you got a hog dog. You got all these different damn specific dogs. A well-rounded dog would be much better, We have a couple that'll do several different things.
I always kind of compared it to, a box. You guys have a box of tools down here.
Yeah.
You guys have a toolbox of tools, and you got a squirrel dog, and you got a hog dog, and you got a coon dog, and you even have a cow dog.
Oh yeah.
So I think y'all have a box of tools down here, and they're specialty tools.
Yeah.
I had the goal of just having a well-rounded dog because I didn't want to have 100 dogs.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to kind of keep my sanity and keep my wife's at the same time. And I set a standard. I try to set a standard. Now I go over that standard a lot as far as dog numbers.
Yeah.
But I only breed when I need hunting dogs. I mean, I don't call myself a dog breeder.
Yeah, it's for yourself.
Yes, absolutely. I don't breed to make money. I breed when I need more dogs. And
I don't think you can make money with dogs.
There's very few people that have definitely made money.
I cannot. It just costs me money.
I've been in the black for decades. So
yes.
It's
I cannot. And no matter what I do, I don't know.
I think if you look at the monetary value of it, you're kind of losing the point of it,
Oh yeah, and that's a fact. It's like you said, if you start concentrating on every penny for every dog, for everything, you're going to find yourself not having dogs.
Yeah, you should have just got a cocaine habit, not a dog habit.
Exactly, because I'm
probably
telling
been cheaper.
You, yes.
It's
yeah. I mean, that's how it is.
Well, it's and it's a lot of people ask me why I got into dogs, or why I'm still into dogs, and obviously it's something I'm passionate about. But it's you can't look at the money side of it. You're never, guys like me, we're never going to get rich from dogs, or breeding dogs, selling dogs. So you got to be happy with what you have, and you got to learn to just enjoy it. It's for a long time my ego got in the way because I wasn't catching game and I wasn't starting out how I should, and one of the first guys I ran with when I first got hounds, he said, "Man, you're not catching anything but a cold your first 5 years.
Yeah.
And if you expect anything other than that, you're expecting too much." And I forgot all about that guy saying that to me, you know, and I was upset for a long time because my dogs weren't catching, and it wasn't my dogs, it was me. You know, I was getting in their way. I was overhandling. I was overtraining. I was overcorrecting, and
I like what you said there, the overtraining part. A lot of people they don't get that. Like
well,
they,
you know, I never realized that until I started doing other styles of hunting, doing different hunting. Until I started coming to the South to go hunting. Until I started traveling to Maine to hunt bears. I never realized it.
Yeah.
It was not even crossed my mind. I mean, I won't even lie to you about it, but it's a fact.
Yeah. And so like the process of or the style of hunting in East Texas that you were doing compared to what you were doing in Idaho or Maine or wherever you go, like with the bear dogs and stuff. How do you do it there as opposed to how we do it here? Like, you know, you ride around rig.
I don't do it
track,
any different,
what?
honestly.
Okay.
I hunt hogs,
Mhm.
or yeah, I mean, I hunt hogs almost the exact same way I'd hunt a bear.
Well, that's what I was curious of. I didn't know if you had, you know, I know like the dogs, it's different for the dogs because it's a different game. But like you said,
The process is very much
process,
still the
yeah,
same.
it's still the same process.
And that I think that's kind of why I stuck with a plot, or I went to plots. I didn't start with plots.
Yeah.
I kind of, you know, grew towards plots as my hound dog career matured. And I think that was kind of my driving force behind owning a plot, is they were designed for bears and hogs.
Yeah.
And so when I knew I was going to move to the South, I figured that transition was going to be easy, and it kind of was in the fact that the process is the same. You can jump baits down here in Texas where I was at, or you can rig roads. You can do either one. You can road them down the road. So the process is still very much the same. Conditions were different, you know, humidity and ground conditions and temperature and water, and that was the big hurdle for us. It wasn't so much the process, what hunting wasn't different. It was conditions were different, you know, and we ran into the same thing when we went to Maine. When we took our dogs to Maine, you know, we're hunting bears. We were hunting the same game, but the terrain was different. The environment was different. The conditions were different. Stuff was different. And we went into our Maine trip thinking we're going to treat bears every single day. This is going to be easy. It's going to be just like back home. We didn't tree our first bear until the 5th day of the hunt.
No shit.
And it was a jagged little hard pill to swallow, that, you know, there was a chance for 3 of us to go home with tag suit and not even see a bear in Maine.
Damn.
And that was becoming a realization really fast, that we may not ever even see a bear in Maine over our dogs, you know, and when we finally treed that first one, it was a sigh of relief. I won't lie to you.
Yeah.
It was a sigh of relief. Like, Lord,
Wow.
we can do this.
Wow.
You know, and it was a whole lot of questioning of what happened. What are we doing wrong? What's different?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and what it was it's different conditions. It's different humidity, different barometric pressure, different ground conditions. You know, we go from running on, you know, rocky, sandy type soil to running on like almost like tundra, moss and stuff like that in Maine. And it's even different when you come down into the South, you know, and doing these different styles of hunting in different places. I didn't want to have to change out dogs all the time. You know, I wanted to run the same dogs, and were they successful at every place we went? Yeah, but it took work.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy. It didn't come easy.
Didn't give up.
I had to give the dogs the chance to acclimate, you know, and I think that was a big part of it, is giving the dogs a chance to acclimate to their new environments. And once I did, you know, you could see the wires connect. Okay, this is what we're doing.
That's what we're doing. Yeah.
I know what we're doing, and then we'd be successful again. So it wasn't never the dogs that needed to change. It was me that needed to change, you know, and I had to grow patience, and I had to, you know, learn my dogs better and listen to my dogs more and have faith in my dogs more. and not control them as much. And I was overhandling. I was overtraining, and I wasn't letting my dogs be dogs. And I was thinking I knew more than my dogs.
That's it.
And the simple fact of the matter is I don't. I don't know more than my dogs. They've taught me the whole time. I haven't taught them anything.
That's it.
and now I'm just along for the ride. And you have to do it for fun. And, you know, as soon as I realized that I don't do this for a living, it's not for work, I do this for fun.
Yeah. That's
not take it so seriously. It became more enjoyable.
When the fun gets taken out of it, I had that happen to me years ago. It got to the point where it's like, I really just, I was fed up. I was to the point where it was like, I don't even want to do this. And I had to step back. And I was like, well, why do I do this? Why did I ever do this to begin with? Because it was fun. And when the fun's taken out of it, I got to do something different. The dogs didn't do nothing wrong.
No.
Like you said, realize it's me. And a lot of it had to do with how I was doing things, who I was doing things with. And so I was like, no, we're going to make this enjoyable. And so for a long time, it was just me and Nate and Joe. And that was it. Like, we hunted together. There was no outside people come in. And it went really good.
It's got to be fun. If it's not fun, then you're not having fun. The dogs aren't having fun.
Yeah,
there's no growth, no progress being made, and it's kind of pointless, you know. And I was hindering my dogs, you know. And as soon as I figured out that I needed to step aside, put my ego to the side, my attitude to the side, and realize that I just have to do this for fun and take the good with the bad and get back to the root of it.
I think
that's fun.
All of us, as we kind of, I guess our graduation ceremonies would be as dog men, the first time that you're there, you don't strike nothing, you don't catch nothing, you don't even run nothing, but those dogs work so hard and they just hunt and hunt and hunt and hunt and hunt. But there's nothing in the end but the satisfaction of those dogs working their ass off. That's when I'm like, it's just one day in my mind and I can remember it. And I was like, that's what it's about. It's seeing what I've produced and they're working. And I know that I could take them anywhere and give them the right amount of time and the right conditions. And they'll catch whatever I want, whenever I want, or whenever it's there. A lot of times the game's not there. So if there's no game there, I can't fault my dogs, but I mean, I get frustrated and upset. And then
well, you can't, you just put unrealistic expectations on your animals, and
that ego.
That's the human ego speaking. And
that's what I said. I think that's when we get past that point and we're like, hey, rough day today, dogs worked their ass off. Everything went good on that. So
some of my best days in the woods were with an empty tailgate.
Yep.
And it's, I think you learn a lot from those days. I think you learn more from the unsuccessful days than you do the successful days.
Yes.
And if you can't learn from your failures, then I think, I think
not learning.
The process is messed up a little bit. But
there ain't no doubt.
Without failure, there's no success. So you have to take the good with the bad. And it's I'm not the most successful person. I'm not the best dog trainer. I'm not the best houndsman. Most of the time, I don't even claim to be one, So it's, I just try to be the taxi cab driver for these dogs to the woods and facilitate their abilities and their needs and just stay the hell out of their way and let them be
turn
what they
loose.
Let them, turn them loose.
Let them be dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like you said, I wish more people would do that. And a lot of times I see guys getting started and I see the frustration and stuff. And I try to tell them, like, hey, it's cool. No problem. Just let them do it. And they want the result right then. I'm like, it don't happen like that every time.
Well, and as men, being instant gratification type creatures, I think, we have to check that. We have to check that type of stuff at the door. And, it is it is what it is.
Yep. So
we have to stay out of the way of them dogs.
Exactly. Now, you said something a while ago about having a lot of public land to hunt in Idaho and places like that. We can hunt public land here, but it's not the same. Like where we live at, we can hunt public land, like we can hunt the national forest, but we can't hunt a management area. We can't hog hunt it. Now you can hunt it for other stuff, other game, but like for hog hunting, no. And it's one of the craziest things. So the private land that's the most sought after thing because that's pretty much what you got.
Yep.
Like I said, you got public land, but the biggest majority of that public land is management area, and we can't run like that. So
I think it was
places
one of the
like
biggest
that.
obstacles in the South was navigating the laws and the property lines, and
How different is it?
it's extremely different. You know, in Idaho, you can drive for 150 miles and never be on the same road. I mean, you're never leave the same road. Excuse me.
Yeah.
So it's it's huge different in that fact.
That would be insane just to be able to just.
Yeah, when we go hunting in Idaho on public land, it's millions of acres of Forest Service land. You know, National Forest Service land, and it's all public. It's all at your
Wow.
disposal, and it's big country. You better be ready to chase your dogs down.
Oh, I can only imagine.
But it's got its ups and downs too. You know, we have road closures and stuff like that. You know, and the dogs can get to areas that are inaccessible because of road closures and the Forest Service closing, you know, gating roads that were once accessible. So we do have our own issues on, you know, running big tracts of public land in Idaho. But that's just part of, I think, of navigating your local laws of wherever you're at and adapting and growing with where you're at. You know, I think that's just, and we're going to deal with that as dogmen because as we grow anywhere we're at, laws are going to change.
Mm-hmm.
They're constantly trying to change laws in Idaho and in Colorado and even down here. You know, every year, you know, it's a fight to get these bay events up and going every year. And
our hog hunting in our guidelines and rule books in Alabama, it's literally every year it changes. It's broken up into so many different little seasons, and like we have a special nighttime season to run hog dogs with a dog and a knife only. It also coincides with a thermal season to where you can hunt hogs and coyotes with a gun and thermal or night vision and stuff. You know, and to me, it's like, so if I got a dog with me, you can't have a gun. You can only have a knife. You know, it's crazy.
As hunters and as dog hunters, we really have to pay attention to these laws because there's a lot of technicalities that we can get wrapped up in. Yep. And they will hem us up for if we're not paying attention. And we have to really be ultra vigilant on our laws, on, you know, paying attention to rules and guidelines and what the game warden wants you to do. And it's very important that we follow these rules and guidelines and pay attention to those because it's it means our future. You know, it's either personally or as a whole. You know, and I think as people, as hunters, we got to pay attention to those little guidelines and those little rules. And even in states like Idaho, where we have huge tracts of land, you know, it's very easy to get off those and trespass. And so it's pay attention, you know, it's on X maps and those GPSs are very, very important. And I know it's, there's a lot of people that like, oh, if it wasn't for the invention of the GPS, half these dudes wouldn't be running hounds and that's very well the case, but simple fact of the matter is this updated equipment keeps us out of trouble. It keeps our dogs safe, and I think that's very much important in this day and age where we're, you know, we are a dying breed, and sometimes
it's our job to do this.
It is,
and that's what people don't understand. That I've seen is a lot of so-called dog men. They just go wherever they want to go and don't care. And they're like, well, my dog's over there, I'm going to go get it. Well, yes, I understand that. But if it's illegal to do that, you need to make the proper arrangements to do. You know, call your landowner or call the game warden and say, hey, my dog's over here and I can't get over there to him. What do I need to do? If you don't know, you know, because
don't be the next dog hunting statistic, you know?
Yeah, because you got all these cameras now, cell cams. They're everywhere. If you slide in this property just to go get your dog because he's bayed over there, you're probably on camera somewhere.
Oh, yeah, there's a picture of you sliding in there, I promise you.
And then when that happens and you're caught, you try to make it out like it's somebody else's fault. No, it's not. It's your fault. Like you said, we got the Can you take your dogs and turn them around off of another property before they get there? Can you stop your dogs? You can. You got Garmin. You got a shot collar. You don't want to.
You don't.
You don't want to.
Thanks
I know
to the
that
technology, it's definitely there.
it's there, so you can do it.
We need to be vigilant and do our part. And it's every black eye for one of us is a black eye for all of us. And it's we have to pay attention to that kind of stuff because they are. They are.
They are.
I mean,
without a doubt.
Yeah. If you think for 1 second that they're not, you have another thing coming. It's they're definitely paying attention and they're waiting for us to trip, and they're looking for that little chink in our armor that they can use against us, and they
will.
And they will. They absolutely will. And that was one of the biggest things that I had to pay attention to. Moving from Idaho to Texas, and then even moving back to Idaho, is I had to jump through all the legality hoops to get my residency, everything figured out, so I was legal back in my home state.
It's all the way up under your chair.
So you can definitely get caught up very easy if you're not paying attention. If you're moving around a lot, and even if you're traveling to hunt, like when I came into Texas the other night, I pulled it over in Texas. It's made it super easy for people to buy their non-resident hunting license.
Yeah,
there's no excuse for anyone not to buy that $43 hunting license to dog hunt hogs in Texas.
Yep.
And I think being out of the legal spotlight just by buying that and doing that, do it.
Yeah.
I think
it's better than a damn $1,000 ticket,
and it saves the dog hunting industry as a whole.
Because that's what happened. Like you said, that one black eye. It's all of us.
It's all of us.
If sooner or later, dog hunters get a bad name because of dog hunters.
Well, we're just dog hunters. We're just different. We're not normal anymore, and people see us as the outcasts anyway.
Yeah, the world's changed. We haven't.
Well, that's exactly it.
That's the only way I can look at it. The world's changed, and we haven't. So
and unfortunately, we have to start changing in some ways to kind of preserve what we do. I mean, and it's an unfortunate part of it, but it's growth, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well,
as long as we're growing in the right direction.
Yeah, that's the thing, is going in the right direction. Is like we were talking about the social media stuff, putting it out there is fine in a positive light. I've seen some videos guys put up, and man, their dogs are hurt and stuff, and I'm like, man, don't post that.
I'm as guilty as the next guy.
I've done it,
posting some inappropriate stuff, and
but we learned and we changed.
But you have to learn and change, and I think that's part of also being an adult.
That's another thing.
We have to learn from our mistakes, and grow from it and move on, and especially as dog hunters, we have to be super vigilant about what we're doing.
Without a doubt,
they're paying attention to us. It's I love doing this, and I'm never going to stop doing this.
No, that's me. I don't ever see me stop doing it because this is just me.
Well, it's just a way of life, and if it means I have to, follow some rules and hold somebody else to a standard, then so be it. I expect somebody to hold me to a standard as well. And
yeah,
it's I think it's kind of part of these events. If people would come to these events and do more about, get out of their bubble and meet new people and form really these relationships, it kind of solidifies us as dog people throughout the country. And you wouldn't so much need, these different organizations to, kind of take on the fight themselves when
we could do it ourselves.
We could do it ourselves if we'd come together a little bit more.
And it's a big thing here. And I'm sure it is in other places too, is like dog hunters are against each other in some form or fashion.
We've been battling different, rule changes in Idaho on our bear seasons and potential season changes. And
Nate, I say, while y'all are doing that, they're gonna raise hell the whole time. Just hold on. They're loading stuff up, so the dogs are gonna go crazy. Junior, hush. By now, everybody knows Junior. He barks a lot. We're sitting right beside him, so they're going to raise hell.
We're at a barking dog event, so
Yeah.
I suppose we can't get over barking dogs.
Nah,
We're in the wrong sport.
exactly. We so what kind of good hunting stories you got? I always try to, and we never hardly ever make it to that part of these. Is I'm always curious if somebody's like either
Well, what
some
kind of hunting story you want?
like-
You want a train wreck or?
Oh, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. Whatever, just some. Because look, people love to hear other guys talk about their hunting stories, and we love to tell ours. You know, so it's like one of those deals. Like Ed Barnes, you know, he's doing the whole series on Ben Lilly, and writing a book like that or writing stories like that as Ben Lilly would do it. And so I think that's pretty cool. And he and I, we've all talked about, like, you know, if we could write a book or keep a journal of all our days in the woods and our hunts, there would be, I mean, I'd have a whole book of just great ones. I'd have a book of just shitty ones too. But like, you know, some of the most satisfying days, or, you know, like you said, a train wreck, either one, just a good hunting story.
Well, man, I have so many to pick from.
I know it's kind of on the spot because we, like I said, we just go with the flow on this thing.
Yeah, well, you have to give me a minute to stir on it. Well, I fell off a 25-foot cliff and snapped my right foot in half on a line hunt one time.
Oh shit!
And we called that the Pride Rock Lion. And that line is in, for all I know, he's still alive to this day. But
Really,
me and a friend of mine named Jonathan, we were headed out to the South Mountains of Idaho, the Owyhee Mountains, and we were headed out. We had just got some fresh snow, and so we loaded the snowmobiles and loaded the dogs, and we headed out in the dark to go cut some lion tracks. In Idaho, that's what we do. You know, when it snows, you head out about midnight and you start cutting lion tracks. You cut a lion track, you sit on it till daylight, you set your dogs down, because the law in Idaho is you can't hunt big game in the dark.
yeah.
So you wait till daylight, you set your dogs on
I
the
didn't know
track.
you couldn't hunt in the dark.
Yes, you can't hunt in the dark in Idaho. You can for raccoons and for coyotes and stuff, predators. Non-game animals. So anyway, back to the story. We get up there and we get parked. We unload dogs. We unload sleds, and we make it probably 100 yards on the snowmobiles, and one of the jets on the snowmobiles clogged up. So we gave up on, you know, the snowmobiles, and we were just going to run roads in the truck as far as we could. And sure enough, we went 100 yards past where we went with the snowmobiles in the truck and cut a line track. And we set down a plot dog on it, my Roxy dog, and she took it down in the canyon. We added 2 more dogs to it. And in a quarter mile, we had the lion jump. And we knew we had him jump because we seen him jump.
Oh yeah.
And so we watched the race happen right in front of us. And the lion carried the dogs to a pile of rocks. And he started cliffing them out. And that's one of the tricks a mountain lion likes to pull in our country is he'll head for the rocks and he'll try to climb the cliffs and he'll cliff up the dogs.
Yeah.
And he'll leave the dogs hanging in the rocks. And sure enough, that's what this old lion was doing. And so me and John, we go charging in there with his 9-year-old son at the time. And we start uncliffing the dogs. And as we're getting the dogs out of the cliffs, John, my partner, starts shooting at the rock side right above my head. And I look down the hill. I said, "Boy, what are you shooting at?" He said, "That lion's standing right above you."
Oh,
and
whoa.
as I'm getting the dogs down off a cliff, the lion was still cliffed up right above my head. And my partner, Jonathan, was shooting at the cliffside to keep him from, to back him up off of me because he was just standing right above me. So we got the dogs uncliffed and we got him around the other side of the cliff and bank, and got him back up the bank where the lion had got up. And as we're doing this, the lion had jumped again and come down off the rock pile and bait up under a big rock ledge. Yeah. And as we approached, one of my dogs took it upon himself to go ahead and try to engage the lion. And I dove in, grabbed the dog by the tail. And as I was pulling the dog out by his tail, I pulled my revolver and tried to shoot the lion at the same time. And ended up shell shocking both, muzzle blasting both me and the dog. So I couldn't even see or hear anything. And it was everything just to get me and the dog out of this little ledge up area in the rocks. And as I pulled the dog out and kind of got my wits about me, the lion had weaseled its way out and it jumped off the side of the cliff. And I reached out to stop my dog from going after him again. And I stepped on top of this big flat boulder, and it was covered in ice and snow. And I rode it like a slide off the edge of the cliff. So I fell off the cliff and hit the next point of the next rock pile beneath me, and there was about a 25-foot drop. I hit it with my right foot, and I broke all the metatarsals in my right foot in half.
Damn.
And realized that we still had dogs on this lion. And we went another 450 yards to where he bayed up again in another rock pile. And at this point, we decided to go ahead and pull dogs, look for blood, make sure I didn't hit him when I shot at him.
Yeah.
And reassess from there.
Yeah. Shit.
So while I stood at the base of the rock pile with my partner's son, my partner went up, collected dogs, looked for blood. And when he was looking for blood, the lion was hollering at him. And he said, man, the lion's very much still alive, unwounded, no blood.
Oh,
We're getting out of here.
Yeah. That's wild.
And we had a 1.7 mile trek to the truck.
With a broke foot.
And I believe it was Christmas Eve. You can't quote me on it, but it was Christmas time. So yeah, that was we went back 2 days later. I was casted up in a cast. We rode snowmobiles in to recut his track to try to recatch him. And he had moved out. The next season, I cut the same lion on the same rock pile and didn't have the nerve about me to run him.
Really?
Was still kind of a little bit shell-shocked from falling off the cliff.
Oh, yeah.
So as far as I know, that lion still walks to this day.
Wow. The Pride Rock Lion.
Proud rock lion.
Hell yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's on any given sunny day, you could probably drive to that spot and glass up a lion sitting on that pile of rocks.
Really?
I've done it many times. I don't know if it's the same lion.
Yeah.
I'd like to think it was.
Yeah.
But I think what it is it's just along their travel corridor for the lions, and it's just a good sunning spot.
That's cool.
Lions like to sit in the sun.
That's kind of like one of my dream hunts. There is to go run a lion.
And it's funny. As a guy who comes from a state that lion hunting and bear hunting is something normal that we do. I always wanted to hog hunt.
Really?
And it was a dream of mine. And it was a dream come true for me to be able to move down here and do it. And so it's reversed for me. It's funny to me,
because we take it for granted. Like It's like this is what we do, and like you said, I have for 17, 18 years, I've carried guys from all over the place hog hunting, and I'm like, y'all really want to, that's what you want to do.
And I hate lion hunting. I hate snow hunting.
And so me, I'm like, I want to go bear hunt. I want to bear hunt. So we all take off and go on a bear hunt year before last. And we get on a bear. It was amazing.
It's just something new.
It's something
different.
It's something different.
It's exciting, and it's
and we caught one of the biggest hogs that we'd ever caught on that bear hunt with our dogs too. So that was very satisfactory.
Oh, how cool would that be?
Well, they had some hogs up there. They're like, man, everybody's running these hogs, and they're big hogs. And I mean, them hogs, their ass and the back legs were scarred to hell. We cut a couple of them old shitty cur dogs loose. They bait him in his bed. Turned them loose right there at the cabin. 3/4 of a mile deep. Not a peep was made. And all of a sudden, oh. I said, well, that's it. And they were like, well, they running him. I said, oh, no, that's his ass. He's there. And I knew right then, like I live in, the start of the Appalachian Mountains. It's hills. I learned what mountains were that day. let me tell you something. Going that far, and we get right there, and he's off this point. Well, then they decide to just bail off and go further. We didn't hike down this sumbitch. We slide down this damn thing. It was awesome. And I was like, it all just made like a full circle deal, because it's like I always come right back to that damn hog. I'm always hog hunting no matter where we go, and I still have so much love for it. I don't ever see me not doing anything else, but there's so many other things I want to do. Like I said, a lion hunt.
Hey, I think you're right. We just kind of take for granted what is normal to us and what we do all the time, and that's why I always encourage people to travel. Meet your Facebook friends. Go hunting.
Yes.
Like go witness how they do it in another state.
Live.
Don't even take your dogs.
Yeah.
I mean, just go witness it. Go do it. Go see how they do it. Go see how they enjoy it. Go see why they enjoy it.
Yep.
And I
see that culture and how it is where they're at.
And that all builds towards solidifying and protecting what we do in our tradition in dogs.
Yeah.
And I think, and that's why I encourage everyone I talk to, and they think I'm freaking nuts for driving 2,000 miles to come sit here and talk with you.
Yeah.
Because that's what I did.
I think it's fucking awesome.
That's what I did. I drove 2,000 miles, come hang out with my buddies and bark, let my dogs bark at pigs.
And there's other guys that do it. Very few. You know what I mean? They don't drive 2,000 miles, but there's some guys here come from California.
Oh, absolutely.
These events, that's like you said, that's what brings it together. Now, traveling 2,000 miles to come hunt for the weekend, it'd be like, man, yeah, we'll have to plan it out and all that. We'll make it happen. But when you got like this long, you got a whole week of doing this. This is our vacation. We can hang out.
Make the effort.
No stress. Yeah, make the effort. Do it.
Make the effort. Try it. Do it at least once, and I bet you won't regret it.
Nah, shit. No.
I have never regretted any bit of my traveling and my hunting. And, was I uncomfortable? Hell yes.
Yeah.
Was it awkward? It was awkward as shit, bud.
Yeah.
Being the new guy, being the odd guy out, it was awkward. But everywhere I've went so far, it doesn't matter where I've went. I've been welcomed with open arms, and
the dog hunting community, no matter where you're at, I feel like it's the same all over. Because like where we went to the UP in Michigan, fell in with some guys up there, and it was just like me and you. It's like after the little awkwardness and being the new guy there, it's got kind of different, but at the same time, I was welcomed with open arms. Go do our thing.
We love the same things at the end of the day, and it doesn't geographically, no matter where we're at, we love the same shit. We do the same shit,
That's
right. And I think that's,
that's the glue that holds it together.
That is the glue. That's the backbone. And it just can't speak any more good on it.
Taking the kids and the next generation, that's the most important to me. We try to take as many, and honestly, they don't have to be kids. They can be grown people who've never done it and they want to start doing it.
Yeah, new people, absolutely.
We love doing it. I mean, there's a guy coming from Florida. I think he'll be here tomorrow. He's coming to get one of the dogs that I've had for years. And I've got young dogs coming up, so I'm going to put some time in them. So I've got some older dogs, and I'm giving them to these guys to help them get started, to help further their pack, to make it a little better.
Broaden our horizons as a dog hunting world,
That's it.
It just builds the army.
So, well, man, I think it's been a pretty good little podcast so far. I don't know how long we've been talking. It's a pretty good while. So
yeah, it's been a good bit.
We got a lot going on, so I think it's a good spot to cut it off. If you're good, you got anything else you want to add? Or
No, just thank you for having me, Joey, and I appreciate your hospitality. And
oh shit, you know how it is.
Yeah,
that's all
brother.
we do. Is just like, hey, once you're here, that's it. You ain't getting rid of us.
No,
He's like, we're family.
Pat said it best. Once you're family forever.
That's it. Yeah, and all these cats are like that, dude. I mean, you won't find a better group of people.
No, it's been a pleasure, and I'll be here every year.
Right on, brother. Well, Roy, it's good to have you. We appreciate it. Hey, thanks all the listeners. We're trying to keep these shows rolling, trying to put out as much content as we can. So you guys make sure that you follow, you subscribe, you like, do all those things that you do on the social media stuff and our YouTube, Spotify, and all that. Thanks to, we really appreciate everybody that supports us, no matter how you support us. It doesn't matter.
Support those who support you.
That's exactly right. We really appreciate y'all. Until next time, we'll see you.